Hi, welcome to my video on finding where the slope of a cubic polynomial is zero, increasing or decreasing. Where is the slope zero, increasing or decreasing? And we're looking at a cubic and the derivative. We have to do the derivative because the derivative y prime is the slope of the tangent. So the derivative is a negative 3x squared. So if we let y prime equal 0, that means negative 3x squared equals 0. X squared is equal to 0 dividing by negative 3. That means x is equal to 0. So the slope of this cubic is 0 so the slope is 0 where x is 0. Now we look at where y prime is greater than 0. So that's negative 3x squared is greater than 0. And we divide by negative 3, so x squared is less than 0. Dividing by a negative changes the inequality. And x squared less than 0, that's no numbers. Because x squared is always a plus. No matter what number you put in and you square it, you'll always get a plus. So there's can't be less than 0. So there's no values so it's never decreasing, or sorry, never increasing. And how do I know? So y prime is greater than 0, so it's never increasing. So what about y prime less than 0? So negative 3x squared is less than 0. X squared divided by negative 3 is greater than 0. And x squared is greater than 0. So all x squared is always greater than 0. So this is true for all real numbers. So it's always decreasing. It's decreasing all the time for all values of x. That's in the graph. Now let's look at number 2. Again, this is a cubic because it's the highest degree is 3. So we look at, again, increasing, decreasing. 0 is look at the slope of the tangent, which is y prime. So the derivative is negative 2 times 3 is negative 6, decreased by 1. And this is a linear, so the slope of 24x is just 24. So we'll make y prime equal to 0. That means we'll make negative 6x squared plus 24 equal to 0. And we can divide because we got equal to 0 and we have no x, so we can say negative x squared equals negative 24. Divide by negative 6, x squared is equal to 4. X squared is equal to 4, x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 4, which is 2. So that means the slope is 0 at plus or minus 2. Now we want to look at where y prime is greater than 0. So that means negative 6x squared plus 24 is greater than 0. We have a quadratic. A quadratic has two values of x, of 2 and negative 2. You can see here. So what we'll do, we'll factor this 6. Negative 6 outside of x squared minus 4 is greater than 0. Negative 6. So this is factorable as x plus 2, x minus 2 greater than 0. So what we'll do, we'll look at a number line, and we're looking at the values of x which are negative 2 and 2. So at negative 2 and 2, the slope, we put a dot, the slopes are equal at these two values, equal to 0. Now, let's take some numbers to the right of 2, which is a 3. Let's put a number in the middle between negative 2 and 0, which is negative 2 and 2, which we'll call 0. And to the left, we'll go with a negative 3. So we take 3 and sub it into this expression here. Put 3, that's 3. You can't put 3 there, so that's a negative. Put 3 here as a positive. You put 3 here as a positive. So negative times a positive is a negative number. So that's a negative. Now we put 0 in. Put 0 in here, we get a negative. 0 here, we get a positive. 0 here, we get a negative, and the product is a positive. And we put a negative 3 in, that's a negative. Negative 3 is a negative. Negative 3 here is a negative. Negative times a negative times a negative is a negative number. So, greater than 0 is the plus. So that means the plus is from negative 2 less than x less than 2. And if we do y prime is less than 0, we do all the same work here. I'm just taking a shortcut here. It's the same factoring on that. So we do less than 0. So less than 0 is a negative. So a negative is x is less than negative 3, or x is less than negative 2. Got to be careful. I look at the 3 here. X is less than negative 2, or x is greater than 2. So that means the slope is 0 for negative 2 and 2. The slope is increasing here, so it's increasing on this interval. And less than 0, it's decreasing. But before I finish this, I just want to write this notation in the interval notation. So I want to write it as, another way to write this is negative 2 to a 2. And another way to write this one is open bracket at negative 2 going to negative infinity, or, and this is an open bracket because no equal sign, 2 going to infinity. Just another way to express it. Sometimes you'll see it. So again, 0 increasing. And now to check it, what you do to check it, if you take, again, this is the slope right here. So if you take a 0 and put a 0 in here, you get 24, so that's increasing, right? So that you're just checking. And if you take a number which is greater than 2, you put a 3 here, you get a 9. 6 9s are 54, negative 54, 24 is a negative. So just checking to make sure you're okay. Where is the slope 0 increasing or decreasing for the values of x? Well, again, the slope is the derivative, so the derivative is y prime. 3 times 2/3 is 2x squared. 4 times 2 is 8, and that's an x. And the derivative of 6x is 6, and the derivative of 7 is a constant. So notice we have a quadratic, so let's see if we can factor this. And we have, I see a 2 as a GCF, so it's x squared plus 4x plus 3. And I see a quadratic, factors of 3 to give me a 4, a 3, and 1, all pluses, so that looks like it's factorable. So x squared is x and x. Factors of 3 are only 3 and 1. Product is positive, sum is positive, so it's got to be 2 positives. So if you multiply that by 4, you get that trinomial. So if we take 2x plus 3 times x plus 1, and we make it equal to 0, we take 2x plus 3 times x plus 1, make it greater than 0, and we take 2 times x plus 3, x plus 1, and make it less than 0. So, where is equal to 0, that means the slope, whatever values we're going to get here, slope will be 0, and greater than 0, the slope will be increasing whatever values you get, and decreasing is less than 0. So we solve this, 2 won't fit, so we get x plus 3 is equal to 0, x plus 1 is equal to 0, x is negative 3, x is negative 1. So the slope is 0 at negative 3 and negative 1. So let's look at negative 3 and negative 1. So we put a solid dot there and there because that's where the, remember, this is y prime. We're looking at the slope of y prime. Y prime is this expression. So these are the values that will give you 0. So the slope is 0 for these two. So the slope is 0 for negative 1, negative 3, negative 1. So what about these. So these are the same values. So let's take greater than. Let's put a 0 here. -2 is in between, and to the left is -4. So what happens? We take a 0 and we put a 0 in this expression. So I'm putting it in here instead of here because it's easier to work out. So a 0 here is plus, 0 here is a +3, plus, and that's a plus. So it's a plus, 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 so the product is positive. Put a -2 in this interval, in this expression interval. So 2 is positive, -2 is positive, and -2 here is negative. So positive, positive, negative multiplied is a negative. Put a 4, we get a plus. Sorry, -4 is a plus. -4 here is a negative. -4 here is negative. So we multiply those signs, we get a plus. So greater than is the plus sign. So the plus sign is on right here. Pluses, x's, less than -4. Pluses, x's greater than -1. And less than is a negative, and a negative is -3 less than x less than -1. And again, the interval for this, another way to write it, is open bracket, -4 going to -infinity, or open bracket, because if that was an equal sign, this would be a square bracket. So this is -1 going to infinity. And this one is open at -3, open at -1. And so, again, increasing, greater, so it's increasing on this interval, these two, and is decreasing from -3 to a -1. And again, to check it, take the values of x greater than, take a 0, or let's take a 1. If you take a 1 is greater than -1, so a 1 should be a plus. Put a 1 here, 2, put a 1 here, 8, plus 6, 16, we're okay. So this is 0 at -3, -1. Increasing, 4 is less, x is less than -4, or x is greater than -1, and it's decreasing between -3 and -1, all values of x. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. And if you do, click the like button, click the subscribe button, visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. The content on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained, just one word. Thank you for viewing my video. Hope the video helped you. Bye-bye.